Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Becomes Player and Got Dragon Ball Evil Powers Part 4. Chapter 18. Getting out of the cave, which was covered in darkness due to them being in the middle of the forest while the moon was out. One entire day had been wasted inside of the cave, well they could have been doing other things that normal people do, unfortunately. This is something that Issei needed to deal with in order to expand upon his world of view with the system and the world of the supernatural. He still hadn't even met his first deity, he really needed to step up his gears. Thanks to wasted bit of time after the battle with Ludwig the Accursed, Issei had regenerated some of his health point with the help of Rossweisse and his system. Due to this, he was the one helping Rossweisse. The first thing that Issei and Rossweisse were met with, after stepping a few meters out of the dark cave, was an owl causing some of the noises in the night. Rossweisse, unfortunately for Issei, jumped onto him while clinging onto the damaged shoulder that Issei was hoping that wouldn't gain contact, cringing at the pain that he felt. Rossweisse didn't seem to be letting loose anytime soon. She was clinging onto him for dear life. Issei. What are you doing? With confusion with why the young Valkyrie was clinging onto him, Issei quickly had a thought appear in his mind, but there was no way that thought was true. Rossweisse slowly brought her head up with her cute fashion and hesitantly began to mutter out the words, which may have been hilarious for Issei, but at the same time a pain in the ass for him. Rossweisse. I'm afraid of noises in the dark, they all bring bad memories. She was constantly shaking in fear while other voices in the dark were finally heard. Kind of like how he would be in high alert mode when damaged enough, Rossweisse was watching all directions while glaring. Issei was holding in the feeling of chuckling, the woman was afraid of the dark. This was amazing and the perfect material to blackmail her in the potential future, maybe he would be able to achieve those chips that she held in her house. Issei. I really don't feel like picking you up the entire way. Issei was staring at her while groaning in annoyance, she must be trolling him or something. Rossweisse brought her head up and began to stutter and give him the cute face. He knew that he shouldn't fall for the face, but he was exhausted and didn't want to deal with arguing with a childish Valkyrie. Issei. I'll only do this once, but you better repay me afterwards or else. Issei slowly brought his injured hands around Rossweisse and leaped into the air while trying to figure out his way towards the town. Rossweisse. I remember the town being towards the right. We should be able to make it there. She said while moving her head towards the direction that she stated. Issei landed on the ground, turning his body towards the right and crouching down onto the ground while holding onto the scared Rossweisse. He finally exerted all his energy into his legs and launched himself into the air while losing all control of his figure. The both of them screamed at the top of their lungs while being high in the air. Time skip brought to you by Izuku and Bakugo fusing to fight all for one's army. It was night and the only person up was Kaneko. She was staring at the moon while clenching her fists with pure anger. Gritting her teeth while having a situation with herself, she was mentally arguing with herself. Kaneko. I still can't build up courage to tap into my powers. I'm still afraid of awakening the monster that my sister once became, but if I don't do something, then my master will become a sex slave to that damn birdie. She was still indecisive with herself, she didn't want to become like her sister. She finally decided to have a test with herself. Walking towards one of the rocks, large boulder was a better word to describe it, but to Kaneko it was simple rock. Reeling her fist back, she had seen the destruction that a high class can produce, especially the rook position. Being in the peerage of the sister of the current Lucifer, she was privileged enough to witness some impressive feats that the Lucifer had. She was nothing but an insect compared to that rook, well that specific rook wasn't even putting in any effort. She wanted to see where she stood compared to a high-class rook's feat, because if Riser was stated to be a noble high class, then she would be needing a bunch of firepower to win this battle. Kaneko. Here goes nothing. She breathed and while gaining that shine of determination go through her eyes. Swinging with the most energy and power that she could muster up, she completely shattered the boulder in front of her, but everything behind the boulder was perfectly fine. Her punch was only able to destroy the boulder and everything else was fine. She looked at her own destruction with disappointment because a high-class rook would be able to destroy a mountain, and it didn't help that she was decimated by Issei, the one man that she disliked was able to destroy her in a battle. Kaneko. Damn, I really am pathetic. To think that pervert was able to beat me in battle, he was able to defeat my master and her entire peerage. Kiba has changed for the worst and Akeno is now taking things more serious. Maybe they would be able to handle me if I turn into a monster. Kaneko was deep in thought, maybe she would be able to show her true self. Turning around and calling it a day, behind her were over 100 broken boulders and trees that were caused by her training during the morning. Kaneko. Maybe, tomorrow I'll be able to slowly open up my powers. I will surpass my sister, I will make that a priority. Kaneko left with a slight smirk on her face. Scene change. Landing on the ground near the city, Rossweisse got off of Issei and began to support him. She felt guilty making Issei go through the pain of lifting her through the entire way from the cave to the city. She began to help Issei walk up the steps that brought them to the city. Issei. Let's get the ticket for the movie today, so when tomorrow comes, we won't have to deal with the chances of not having any spots left. A movie named The Thought Slayer isn't something that people just simply ignore. Issei spoke out towards Rossweisse while she was deep in thought about this decision. Rossweisse. You know what, screw it. The both of us need a break from fighting. Even if one of us basically was carrying the team. She knew that Issei was the major anchor to the two-person team that she quickly created. Issei. So, would you be joining me with watching this magnificent masterpiece that will be displayed tomorrow? Issei was raising his right brow while looking at Rossweisse. She began nodding, and he was glad to have someone that didn't hate his guts watching the movie with him. After buying the ticket, the both of them made it to their street, which took a while. Issei was able to slowly regain some of his health points thanks to his gamer body, allowing him to regenerate every minute. Stretching his limbs to get that relaxing feeling, over the time, his body had healed up, while Rossweisse was using her own healing magic to heal herself through the entire walk. Rossweisse. Issei, I really don't understand you. You somehow were able to heal yourself during the entire walk while I needed some healing magic. She was slightly annoyed with this, while Issei was walking around doing nothing, she was constantly focusing on healing herself. Issei. Questions are better unsolved. Issei quickly opened Rossweisse's door and walked her in. He knew that she was exhausted and wasn't as experienced with fighting these monsters as he was. Motioning for her to enter her house, Rossweisse walked into the house with trouble, stumbling upon her steps while clinging onto the door for some support. She turned around with a smile while slowly bringing the door towards the frame. Rossweisse. Thanks for the helping me. To be honest, adventuring with you has taught me a few things which I never thought that I ever had. She continued smiling while Issei returned the gesture. The both turned around and went their own separate ways. Issei slowly walked away, stumbling upon a small rock, he began to kick it like a child would when coming back from their bus stop. Going deep in thought, he began to think of things behind Rossweisse, since she doesn't give much information about her origin nor about her boss. Issei had to predict by over-exaggerating the power of Odin. Issei. Interesting to see that the guard of Odin is this powerful. Judging by Odin being a god, there is no way that he only had just Rossweisse as his guard. I have already surpassed her in power in about a week of having this power. Especially when the failure of one of the earlier quests set a meeting with Odin, that would have meant death judging based off of most of the other failure punishments. I've got a long way too, but currently the system is slowly beginning to slow down on the monsters and dungeons. Issei started to kick a rock while walking back to his house, which was right next to Rossweisse's home. Accidentally, he kicked the small rock a bit too hard and it broke right through the window of one of his neighbors. Issei instantly began running right to his door and busted it open. Seeing his mother staring at him, she had this intimidating aura. Mother. Issei, this is I lost count on how many times that you have skipped school for adventuring whatever place that you go. Issei's father casually walked into the living room and stood by his wife's side. Staring down upon Issei, who was casually staring at them with emotionless eyes, the both of them looked at each other and nodded. Mother. Since you're at the age where you really don't care about what we say. It appears that we will need to become more aggressive when telling you to do something. Issei's father continued on what his mother was saying. Father. I got a call from school saying that your grades have been dropping. Issei's father pushed his glasses up and had the cliché shine in them. Father. You better get those assignments completed or I'll show you a real black belt master. He pulled out his belt and was smacking it against his hands like Baldi would with his ruler. Needless to say, Issei was already in his room taking a shower. While his parents were saying those things, he casually walked by them and got into his room without them knowing. Issei. I wonder if there will be a new quest soon to complete. Time skip brought to you by Android 18 and Android 21 fusing. A few days have passed, Kiba was seen throwing knives straight through multiple trees. Over the time, Kiba hadn't been training his speed to increase his velocity, but he was training his speed to have better control of his movement. Fighting against Akeno at times, he would always beat her because of how aggressive he would be. Currently, Kiba was fighting against her once more. Akeno. Take this. Akeno shot a sharp bolt of lightning towards Kiba, perfectly blocking the blow with 3 knife, which he threw. Kiba leaped into the air fast enough to quickly kick Akeno on the back. She was sent flying in the air, but she quickly regained her composure and used her wings to block the oncoming knives. Each one of them stabbed her wings, the fallen one and devil one. She came to a decision that her fallen wings offered more protection against Kiba's knives. She sucked up her hatred and needed to survive. No one knew of Kiba's true motive nor intentions. Akeno. Ai. She screamed when the knives pierced right through her wings. It appears that Kiba was adapting to not only her fighting style, but also her physical defenses. He created even sharper knives which tore through her defenses and stabbed right into her hands. Glaring at Kiba, she was panicking when she saw the cold yet icy grin on his face. The moment that she ripped the knives out of her hands was when Kiba went on the offense once more. However, Akeno already had prepared for this. The moment that Kiba jumped into the air was when Akeno clenched her bleeding hands and screamed at the top of her lungs. Expelling out as much energy as she could, the power behind electricity that was being released from her directly hit Kiba's body, sending him flying back, crashing into the rocks, skidding across the lands and finally coming to a dead stop, one stopping at a tree. Akeno. Dear Satan, that may have been one of the only direct hits that I have landed. Akeno was breathing heavily while slowly descending to the ground. Kiba slowly got up and still had his sinister smile. Kiba. Not bad, but I won't stop until you begin to tremble in fear. Kiba started to launch a barrage of knives, each of which were moving at speeds which Akeno barely dodged. Unfortunately for Akeno, Kiba had already formed a plan for when she appeared in front of him. Akeno indeed dodged all the knives and did appear in front of Kiba, but that was when a bunch of knives appeared from underneath Akeno, each one stabbing into her skin. The battle was over, Kiba had won once more. Akeno. Damn it. Akeno was left on the ground bleeding, Kiba looked at her and kneeled down. Picking Akeno's head up to face him, Akeno finally began to see what the difference that Rias was fearing. She was beginning to tremble in fear at seeing the psychotic emotions in Kiba's eyes. Kiba. Where's the confidence, Akeno? She couldn't muster up the words. Kiba dropped her onto the ground to extend the suffering. Walking away, Akeno was quickly able to ask one thing. Akeno. Kiba, who are you actually fighting for? Whose side are you on? Kiba stopped in his tracks and turned around while slowly tilting his head. Kiba. I'm fighting for my own desires, I fight for no one besides myself. And for whose side I'm on my own side. Leaving Akeno to pick herself up, Kiba walked back to his room to prepare for the next step of training. Chapter 19. Calm before the storm. Over the time, Rossweisse and Issei began to open up as friends. Issei learned even more things about Rossweisse. She is afraid of being slapped, she is afraid of Resident Evil, and she is afraid of horror movies. Currently, Issei was exploring the place with Rossweisse. Rossweisse. Issei, how long do you think it will take for the other devils to find us? Issei. For Ria's Gremory, it might take a short time since she is much more aggressive at approaching things. So Nasitri will most likely plan ahead if she finds out about us. Rossweisse. What will we do when we face them? I can't take on the Lucifer or any of the Satans, neither can you. Issei. If that moment comes then I'll take control of the situation. He didn't want to mention that he could randomly enter random dungeons and that the system doesn't want him to die. He was the host of the system, and the system would do anything that it could do to try and save him, unless if he dies in combat. Rossweisse. Issei, it appears that we haven't done much today. How about calling it a day and let's relax at my house? I have a new movie called The B-Movie. Issei. Sure, also, bring the chips. I really want to try them. Rossweisse. Fine, but only this time. The both of them walked away, but Issei's senses were telling him that something was going to occur. Issei. Speaking of which, I haven't received a quest about anything for me to do. I remember the last time I received a long-lasting quest, I also received side quests and normal quests. Issei continued to walk with Rossweisse. She was applying for her driving license, but currently she didn't know a thing about driving. Rather not pay for a destroyed building. Rossweisse. Issei, what do you think about me becoming a teacher? Issei. Wait, this is all of a sudden. Issei stopped and thought about the convenience of her asking and the chances of the teacher that slapped Issei being fired and the job being opened. Thanks to his intelligence stat being so high, his brain was moving at insane speeds, thinking about the possibilities of her becoming a teacher and what type of teacher she would become. Taking her personality and replacing it with a teacher, he began to play a simulation in his mind of how the events would occur. Issei. You know what, yes, you would be an amazing teacher. Rossweisse wasn't expecting that, judging from how the students and other kids would act about teachers. She was fearing that even Issei would say the same and prevent her from becoming a teacher by insulting her. Instead, he supported the idea of her becoming a teacher. This was another time that Issei had shown to her that he wasn't just thinking about boobs and ass like most other men would. In excitement, she hugged Issei, causing him to slightly blush, but he regained it due to Gamer's mind. She was caught up on the moment, she was about to reel back, but Issei also hugged back. She began to blush a dark crimson color, steaming at this point, she quickly reeled back against a hug that Issei gave and bowed down. Rossweisse. I'm sorry. Please don't think less of me for doing that. Issei sighed. Rossweisse was expecting for her only friend in this town to ditch her because of such a small mistake. But instead, Issei patted her head and chuckled at how afraid she was. Another thing that Issei had finally learned about her. Issei. We really have to raise that self-esteem of yours. Just because you hugged me doesn't make me think less of you. Rossweisse was shocked nonetheless. In Asgard, she would oftentimes think that many would think less of her due to how clumsy she was. People would give her the looks of annoyance when she would do something out of her control. This was why she was so fearful of Issei doing the same. Raising her head and smiling, Issei was already proving as a better friend by the second. However, Issei just couldn't think lower of her. She was basically a child inside of a woman's body most of the time, and during combat was when she would turn into scary lady mode. Rossweisse. Alright, it's settled. I'll be applying for becoming a teacher. She ran off to God knows where. Issei facepalmed, nothing was going to be more troublesome than understanding Rossweisse. But that may be a good thing. Turning around and continuing exploring the other places, Issei purposely made sure that Rossweisse wasn't going to enter territory that she wouldn't be able to handle this. Issei. Alright. Issei stared at his hammer, which was placed in his inventory. Issei. I like smashing things, but stabbing would be more effective. Especially when the bleed effect gets applied when being stabbed instead of crushing things. Walking along the dark edges of the city, Issei then sensed another presence. It wasn't a person, but more like an object appearing. Something that he had felt before, turning around to see a shine occurring that blinded his view. When reopening his eyes, he could only see a new quest popping up. New dungeon discovered. Name. Judgment. Description. Short dungeon which will tear your limits. Suggested that you prepare to the utmost for this. Requirements. Unknown. Reward. Better gear. Plus 50,000 EXP. Failure. Gory death and you have failed your own promise to yourself. Issei was left stunned. Not only was this stated to be a short dungeon, but this dungeon was also high rewarding, yet having the stakes being this high. A painful death followed by the system making sure that he would regret this decision by forcing him to gain the guilt of knowing that he failed his original promise of continuing to live even after being revived by the system. Issei. I'll remember this location. This will need the utmost preparation like the system recommended. Rossweisse won't need to come, the party system is cool and all, but currently she isn't strong enough to handle the harsh environments the system puts me in. Issei left the place and walked back home. There was no need for him to stay and analyze the dungeon, nor predict the other side of the potential portal that would form in front of him. Today had been a decent day for Issei, and the rest of the week was going to be easy as well. Time skip brought to you by Aizawa and All Might Fusing. Rias Gremory, a name heard by many devils and many other supernatural beings. The deity would oftentimes laugh at this name. Why? Because they didn't see her as a threat nor someone that they would respect. She was pathetically weak in both devil standards and supernatural standards. She had the most burden on her family because of the fact that her brother was one of the most powerful devils, if not the most powerful. He was known as a super devil, one of three. Carrying out the devil through the civil war and winning, he was crowned Lucifer. This meant that since Urzich's Lucifer, previously known as Gremory, was born from the Gremory clan, then Rias should also have that same potential to become a super devil. Unfortunately, she hadn't met any of those expectations, since her brother was known as the youngest ultimate. That's not even counting his humanoid destruction form, the power that even makes the gods tremble in fear. She was already growing to be 18, and her power were pathetically weak. Rias. These books aren't helping. Maybe if I could call my brother. She began to ring her brother. One thing that everyone knew was that Urzich's made sure that Rias would experience the best childhood life that she could experience. Since he couldn't experience one, due to him being caught up with battling upon birth, he wanted to make sure that his sister wouldn't have to suffer that. Urzich's. Hello. Rias, what is it? Rias. Brother, I wanted to ask you if there was any way for me to train my power of destruction. These books aren't helping, and I don't have much time until my game with Riser. I need to do something or else I will become a slave to him. Please, help me. She was becoming desperate upon seeing the amount of time that she had left until the raiding game and the differences that were being made with her peerage compared to herself. Urzich's. So, little sister, you have finally decided to actually push aside your attitude to finally get better at mastery over your power. Rias was slightly uncomfortable with the tone of her brother, thus wasn't the sweet and caring one. It was filled with a wisdom, coldness, and a powerful tone. Urzich's. If you really want to grow in power with your power of destruction, then you better get used to controlling your power of destruction. Manipulate the power into shapes and weapons, the better control you have the stronger the magic potentially becomes. That's all I have to say, you're not ready for the next step. But that, Urzich's was about to close the phone until he began to scream. Urzich's. Wait, I'm sorry for yelling at her. Don't pinch my cheeks. Oh, Grafia, please don't do this. Rias sighed. That was the first time she had ever heard her brother not talk in a sweet and babying tone to her. But that was quickly dispelled and replaced with a childish tone because of her brother's fear of his wife. Urzich's. Wait, don't get the pan. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. What do you think Milikas will think after seeing this? Grafia. I don't care what you'll say. You haven't even finished the chores that I gave you. Also, weren't you supposed to get the groceries? Urzich's stayed silent until he spoke up. Urzich's. Don't we have unlimited food? That was enough for Grafia to end the battle and show dominance. Grafia. I don't care if we have unlimited food, we don't have the food that Milikas likes. Milikas will see me as the stronger person. With the power that I have inherited from the Lucifage, I hereby will show you why you should listen to your wife. Surziches. Sorry Rias, but I have to go or else my head will be on the top of a pike. The call ended and Rias was stunned and left with so many questions. When did her brother act like this? Why was Grafia so mad at her brother? Why didn't her brother show gender equality to Grafia like Issei did to her entire peerage? Rias. For now, I need to stay organized. I'll begin to manipulate the shape of my balls of destruction. Rias walked out of her room and bumped into Akeno. A few days ago, she saw Akeno bleeding on the ground. The wounds were severe, and when she asked her about the person that did this to her, she answered with saying that her knight had done that. Rias was in edge with confronting her knight, but a single mutter from Akeno changed that confidence that she had. Akeno had blurted out that she stood no chance against him, even if she used her power of destruction, Kiba could easily dodge the balls of destruction. Akeno. Nice seeing you here Rias. How have you been? Rias. Shouldn't I be asking you that? Akeno. We both need reassurance for the upcoming events. Rias. True sorry Akeno, but I have to do some things. Rias ended the conversation with Akeno, she needed to make sure that the other distractions wouldn't affect her. She had heard from Akeno that Kaneko was beginning to slowly draw out her own power because she felt as if she was dragging down the team due to how weak she was. Rias, nevertheless, was extremely proud of Kaneko, but when she tried to congratulate her, she was sent flying away due to how powerful Kaneko had become. Her strength had severely increased by just her using a portion of her hidden power. Rias. I think this should be the perfect room. Busting down the door, she was met with a huge room that was filled with powerful, dense, durable materials covering the walls. This was met for Surziches when he bought this, his plan was to use this as a way to train if he was to take a small break from his job as Lucifer. Doing paperwork enforcing laws wasn't something that was easy to do, someone with high intelligence was needed and Surziches was perfect for that position. Rias. Alright, let's begin now. For the next few hours, Rias had been meditating while bringing out her power of destruction. Obviously she was failing, but for one moment she was able to control her power in her hands until it collapsed. Continuously practicing, her powers were ever so slightly growing, she needed more determination. Time skip brought to you by Azawa and All Might Fusing. The next day came and Issei was running towards his school. Wearing his uniform, unfortunately, his tie was loose and it was swept away by the wind. Luckily, thanks to his luck, the tie landed on his shoulders. Basically having another chance to apply his tie onto his shirt, doing so, he was done and ready. Staring right at the school building, every student was gossiping about something. Issei. Something is always happening in school. The moment that I take a day off is the moment when all the good stuff happens. Why does that always happen to me? Issei sighed in defeat seeing all the students talking hysterically with each other. Making his way towards his classroom, he was finally back and the first thing that he was met with was two fists hitting his face. Without flinching even after being hit, Issei stared at the two crying with their eyes being wiped with their hands. Motohama. Issei, man, I thought we were bros. Vitsuda. I can't believe that you betrayed us. Continuously crying and causing a scene, Issei needed to get past them. They were causing massive scene, he didn't want to be involved with their misery, especially when he didn't know what he was doing wrong. Issei. What the hell are you talking about? Vitsuda. We saw you walking around with a gray-haired hot babe yesterday and couldn't believe that you wouldn't tell her about us. Issei. Get out of the way. Issei stated calmly, this was just a waste of time. He thought that they were kicked out of the movie theater for not being able to watch the Thought Slayer. Vitsuda. Come on Issei, just. Issei walked right past him and sat in his chair. It seemed that they were receiving another teacher, hopefully this teacher actually stays unlike the other dozen that left because of the perversion covering the school. The bell rang and the two perverts were continuously crying. The door opened and in came someone that Issei was already predicting to come in. Rossweisse, who was wearing a blue suit that was tightly hugging her body making her assets look larger. Wearing blue pants that were hugging her body and blue shoes that matched her outfit. She was blushing a bright red color because of how late she was. Rossweisse. Hello everyone, I'm the new teacher and my name is Rossweisse. Please treat me well. She bowed her head while most of the boys were hysterically screaming with joy, the girls were jealous of obvious reasons, and Issei was staring at the tree watching a war occurring. Issei. Come on blue bird, you have the high ground. The red bird is barely hanging on. The blue bird was grabbing the stick while screaming about it having the high ground. The red bird stared at the blue one with anger in his eyes while screaming. Being dragged into the water while the blue bird was staring at his brethren with sadness until the red bird was killed by the water. Issei. We won. Let's go. Rossweisse was staring at everyone, examining the room to see if she knew anyone by chance. Rossweisse. Issei. Issei turned his head to see a happy Rossweisse. Issei. Ignore the woman. He tried his best to ignore her quickly, but the damage had already been done. Everyone stopped speaking and saw Rossweisse running towards the back of the classroom and jumping onto Issei. Rossweisse. Issei. She hugged him while he was staring at her with barely any emotion. Rossweisse. I can't believe that I get to teach your classroom. This is amazing. But Suda. To think that he would be able to see the same woman the next day. Wah. Motahama. Damn you Issei. We'll get you back for this. Issei. You're not supposed to let a friend down. Save me you bums. Rossweisse. Well, just because we are close friends doesn't mean that I will be going easy on you. She backed up and began to explain the situation of what she will teach, what she will help with, and what she will explain in the following weeks. Issei. Yer days. Time skip brought to you by Dark Souls and Resident Evil working together. Rias was seen in a room with damaged clothing, blood was pouring out of her arms while she was struggling to get up. Rias. Just a little bit more. Rias was trying her best to stand, but her body was resisting her command. She continued to tremble, but slowly she began to stand. Rias. I need to control it. She attempted once more to control the small little ball of destruction into her hands and begin to manipulate it. She had gotten to the point where she had it in her hands, but when she tried to change the shape of the ball into anything, the ball blew up in her face, sending her flying into the wall. Due to how powerful the wall was, thanks to Surzich's originally making it withstand his own destruction, she bounced off of the wall without causing any damage to it. Rias. Damn it, maybe I could rest just a little. She collapsed onto the ground and immediately went to sleep. This was much harder than she remembered when her brother trained. But her brother did come out the womb exploding in power of destruction aura surrounding him, maybe she could reach that level with training. Scene change. Kiba was seen staring into the abyss. A huge hole was just randomly created by the destruction that he and Akeno created. Kiba. Maybe this will be the perfect place to train. Jumping down the hole, he could see someone spying on him from the corner of his eye. Someone that he had already fought before and won on many occasions. Akeno, the hybrid, was spying on him for no reason besides making sure that Kiba was on track with being with him. Kiba. Looks like Little Crow wants to learn her place once more. However, Akeno wasn't thinking of fighting against Kiba. She was here because she also found the hole, unfortunately, she was too late and Kiba got the training spot first. Akeno. I'll find another location to train. She left the location to find another place to train her powers, she wanted to go a separate path than her father. She wanted to become someone that would be known for being themselves instead of being known as the daughter of someone powerful. The entire night was filled with knives and swords being thrown around with lightning being shot around. A woman's scream could be heard at times, but that was just her pushing her limits. Scene change. Hanako was punching the ground, continuously creating a deeper hole for herself. She needed to make her way into the deeper parts of the planet. The deeper she goes the harder the rocks become to destroy and the better they become for her to train with. Thud. Hanako. Ouch, ouch. Hanako reeled her fist back in pain and began to calm the pain down with applying pressure onto it. Hanako. That really hurt, I didn't do anything to you, did I? She was screaming at the rock that she hit, the rock was indented, but due to the pressure increasing, the rock was extremely dense. She hit hard diamonds head on with her hand. Not the brightest idea, but still was an experience. Hanako. I think we only have a few days left. I'll spend all the time in this place, maybe I could imagine the rocks being that pervert. Maybe that will ease my hatred and give more determination. She reeled her fists back, releasing part of her original power, she began to pound her hands against the rocks, breaking them while also severely injuring her hands. Continuously doing it to strengthen her arms and hands. Hanako. Duke. She kept punching even when her hands were bleeding severely. She kept punching even when she couldn't think of punching the pervert. But one thing that she gave up on was being a bitch. Time skip. A few days had gone by and needless to say, Rossweisse had been extremely generous to Issei during school and out of school. When he would leave school, she would oftentimes have him over at her house to help him with some of the harder calculus problems. When they were in school, Issei would oftentimes be in the front of the class speaking with Rossweisse. Turned out, in the public she was even more friendly with him. That was at least something good, currently he was inside of Rossweisse's house. Issei. Alright, see you later Rossweisse. Rossweisse immediately heard this from the other house and ran towards him. She couldn't take the chances of Issei leaving to adventure without her. Rossweisse. Oh no you don't. You won't be leaving to do anything dangerous. The last time we both went out to fight whatever monster that you were going to fight, you nearly died and almost got lost in the cave. Issei. Who said anything about doing a quest? Thanks to the gamer's mind, his ability to keep a straight emotionless face was amazing. Sure, extreme emotions could affect his emotions, but that's just him allowing it to happen. When in serious situations, he would be serious the entire way through. Issei. As I said, I'll be leaving. Walking away, he felt someone grabbing his shoulders. Turning around, he saw a worried Rossweisse. Rossweisse? Remember how badly injured you were the last time? You had a huge hole in your body. Your bones were shattered and you could barely walk. Without me, how would you even make it out this time? Issei. There is no need to worry. I'm going home to sleep. I have been tired recently and need some rest to take care of the headache that I have. Leaving the house and a worried Rossweisse, he began to walk to his house. Issei. That was easy, she just needed some reassurance and she would be easily persuaded with such lies. Right when he was about to enter his house was when he activated his speed skill. Moving at speeds faster than the human eye could see, he blitz everyone to make sure that he would be unreadable. Appearing in front of the dungeon that he was going to complete, it has been 10 days since the time he had entered the cave. The system just doesn't want him to rest, but he didn't mind. Issei. Because this is going to be another epic experience for me. Name. Judgment. Description. Short dungeon which will tear your limits. Suggested that you prepare to the utmost for this. Requirements. Unknown. Reward. Better gear. Plus 50,000 EXP. Failure. Gory death and you have failed your own promise to yourself. Do you wish to enter? Yes, no. Grabbing his hammer from his inventory, Issei quickly applied yes and walked through the portal with his massive hammer. Issei. Wait, can't I take my driver's license test? I have to take that before Rossweisse does. Time skip. Hiba, Rias, Akeno and Kaneko were ready for this battle. All of them were getting their dresses prepared. Kiba was ready with his white gloves and his knives, which he created thanks to the mutation with his sacred gear. Akeno was ready with her battle-type gear, wearing thin clothing yet very highly effective at letting her move freely. She was going to win this battle and save her friend Rias. Speaking about Rias, she was wearing her normal clothing, but in a deep red color to express the Grimoire's name. Her arm was covered in bandages, while her body was looking more toned with muscle. She had been pushing herself to the limit. Kaneko was feeling more brave and confident, they all felt as if they could win the battle with ease. Oh how wrong they were. Rias. Kiba, Akeno and Kaneko, ready to win. Akeno. Yes. Kaneko. Sure. Kiba. Stop wasting my time with such mindless questions. Let's get going. Chapter 20 The Storm. Issei walked through the portal and was met with being inside of a closed area. The walls were thick brick, which were most likely modified by the system to deal with the heavy blows that he and the boss will be exchanging. Walking around and finally noticing the huge chair that was seemingly his throne, on top of the chair was a beast. Not a normal beast, something that would only be described as being one ugly monster. Warning. Boss incoming. Recommended level. 60 at the least. Name. Lawrence, the first vicar. The beast, now named Lawrence the first vicar, was finally awoken from his sleep. Screaming while slowly climbing down to the ground, it began to grab its head as if he was having a massive headache. A beast that was similar in size, if not severely larger than even Ludwig, the accursed. Issei. Is this one of those challenge quests? Another one of those quests where the system fooled me. Issei pulled his hammer in front of him and waited to see if the beast was ready to charge at him. He quickly scanned for the stats to see that the beast was stronger than Ludwig. Name. Lawrence. Fame. The first vicar. Level. 70. Race. Monster. Health points HP. 8,000, 8,000. Magic MP. 12,000, 12,000. Fatigue. 0. Strength STR. 150. Vitality Vit. 160. Agility AGL. 150. Intelligence Int. 160. Sense S. 150. Luck LCK. 80. Additional effects. Plus 25% damage reduction. Issei activated everything that he could and knew that this boss was about to be the largest pain in his ass. Not only was the boss stated to be in his first phase, but he looked to be that one boss that could have been optional and could have been ignored. If Issei died then he would be living with the regret if there is another world after his, knowing that he could have survived by ignoring this boss. Issei. This hammer seems to be the only way for me to have a chance against him. If his movement is faster than Ludwig and his intelligence is superior to him, then if he dodged my sword then I would be rendered useless. Speaking to himself like most gamers do, Issei spanned his hammer around his body while getting into his fighting position. Stopping with his hammer behind his neck, he began to watch every movement that the beast did. Issei. But the hammer has a wide area of effect, the more I focus on switching between glass cannon, and then the tank will be the decider of this battle. The beast let out another ear-screeching scream, but it quickly moved towards Issei and reeled its humongous hands back. The beast slammed them onto Issei. Luckily Issei was able to roll out of the way and swing his hammer at the beast. Hitting the beast, he could clearly tell that the monster in front of him was far superior to Ludwig in terms of taking attacks. The beast barely even flinched from the attack. Issei. Shit. Issei rolled out of the way once more, but he was too slow to react to the beast swing its other hands and directly slapping Issei, which sent him flying away. crashing onto the ground and perfectly aligning himself to land onto the wall with his feet. He jumped towards Lawrence and swung his hammer, which he quickly coated with holy magic, and clashed with the beast. Thanks to his immense strength, he was able to push back the beast, allowing for him to swing once more, while the beast was slightly stunned. Directly hitting the beast and sending it sliding a few meters back. Issei. I should really gain a title named the Beast Slayer. This is ridiculous, how many beasts must I battle with? The beast screamed once more, but Issei was able to use the environment to his advantage. He quickly began to break the stone pillars to limit the beast's movement. While doing so, he began to dive in and get a few blows onto the beast. The process continued. The monster was screeching, which was really beginning to anger Issei. The beast finally had enough and swung both of its hands, destroying everything, trapping the beast and slapping Issei away. Issei was shot flying into the wall, hitting his head once more. Thanks to his immense damage reduction, he wasn't about to feel much pain from a simple blow to the head. Issei. Maybe, if this is phase 1 and the beast is severely slow and lacking actual skill, maybe going glass cannon would be alright. Issei grabbed his heavy sword, the huge one, because of the reason of balancing the two weapons in his hands. The heavy sword may have been worse than his better sword from before, but due to it slowing him down, balancing the weight of both of the swords would be harder than just having the heavy sword and the hammer, which nearly weighed the same. Issei. Here I come. Issei threw his heavy sword and pulled his other sword that he had kept, the beginning sword and the advanced sword, throwing both of them, which the both of them landed on the legs while the heavy sword was blocked. The beast screeched. Issei was able to land a critical hit onto the beast. Critical hit landed. The beast screeched even louder than before. Issei didn't let this chance go. Spinning around while putting power into his hammer, he landed a bone-crushing, shattering, destroying blow onto the beast's side. A loud crunching sound was heard because the beast's bones on his side were absolutely shattered. Critical hit landed. Just like in most games, once a crucial critical hit was landed, then the tides of the battle were most likely changed. The critical hits were able to bypass the damage reduction that the beats had. If this was the case, then this made sense because Issei was also getting destroyed when he got hit by a critical hit by the giant lord and Ludwig, the accursed. Issei. One more should at least make me more confident. Grabbing his heavy sword and slamming it into the stunned and injured beast's leg, piercing right through the skin and immobilizing the beast, Issei was able to land one direct hit with his hammer. The force of this one was able to shake the entire room that they were in, breaking one of the body parts of the beast, not knowing which one since Issei was more focused on seeing if the beast would do something strange. Critical hit landed. Issei was feeling a bit better with the odds of winning. That was until the beast began to get up. Ignoring the pain from its side, the beast punched Issei, slamming his face against the floor and creating a crater. Issei was left stunned that the beast just got up like nothing happened with it, even after the 3 critical hits. Issei. Monster, strays, and insane beasts all have one thing in common. I have learned that they don't feel as much pain as others. They either have weaker nerves or just don't feel as much pain. Time skip. Hibba was seen standing in front of the members of Riser's peerage. He was watching all of them with a gentleman's posture. Hibba. So, these are the pawns of Riser. Pathetic to think I was weaker than you all. One of you doesn't even know how to fight. Lee. You shall not pass. We shall cut you into a million pieces. Scums like you don't deserve to see another day of light ever again. But who cares of what she was or what she looked like? She was really judging Kibba by appearance alone. Kibba didn't react to this. Well, externally he didn't react. Nell. Sis. Let's get this started. They nodded and turned on their chainsaws. Kibba. Watch your step, don't want to die by such embarrassing mistakes. Rushing at the 2 chainsaw girls, they both tried their best to cut Kibba, being extremely inexperienced as they were, and cocky, Kibba was able to sidestep dodge their attempts. He quickly threw knives at the girls, perfectly hitting their feet and stopping them by immobilizing them. Kibba was able to then slowly walk towards them. Kibba. Now, since you have finally stopped running. Now the show will truly begin. Kibba formed a massive blade. This blade was something that he was saving for someone else. The girls were fearing that he would win, closing their eyes fearing the attempts. Instead they began screaming. Kibba was cutting them up to make sure the wounds would stay, to make sure that the girls would remember the battle with him. Screaming in agony, the others watching were watching the new Kibba brutally destroying the 2 pawns. Once the show stopped, the files dropped onto the ground and began to fade away. Riser's 2 pawns have been taken down. Rafia stated with surprise in her tone. Low-class devil improving this quick in 10 days wasn't impossible, but it was hard to achieve, especially with the demeanor of most devils in peerages. But the other side of her tone was filled with fear, disgust, and anger, with seeing the way that Kibba handled the situation. She couldn't do anything about it, but she was disappointed with how the knight that Rias had, whom she had seen to act like an actual gentleman, was brutally destroying his opponents. Kibba. 2 down, a few to go. Kiba quickly dodged another strike from the Knight of the Phoenixes. This woman had a single sword, she tried to swing once more but was intercepted when Kiba threw his weapon, which she barely blocked, throwing another in front of her and leaping towards her. The woman swung, but Kiba landed on the handle of the sword that he threw and jumped, dodging the swing of the woman, and quickly threw his knives at the woman's arms. Stabbing her and causing her to scream, distracting her from the battle, Kiba was able to grab his sword and swing directly downwards in the middle, perfectly cutting off the woman's hand. Kiba. Red blood. Kiba watched the woman grab her sword, attempting to slash at him. Unfortunately, due to being unbalanced, she was destroyed. Kiba was quickly able to subdue her and able to stab a bunch of swords and knives, which he was able to form. The woman was quickly eliminated. The Knight of Riser's peerage has been eliminated. Grafia was hesitant to say if the woman was dead, the stab wounds were severe. What was happening with the way that Kiba was handling situations? She needed to talk with Rias, if not, then she will need to talk with her king. Surziches, the strongest devil to have ever existed, the super devil that started it all, the embodiment of destruction. Kiba. I wonder if Kaneko and Akeno are actually defeating these weaklings. Scene change. Kaneko was seen punching the school building, the replica of the school that she went to. Busting the small section of the school, destroying the walls and the rooms, eliminating one of the pawns. One of the pawns of Riser has been eliminated. Kaneko walked through the disaster and dodged a punch from a fellow rook. A girl with black hair and clothing that were seemingly from Japan. Shulin. Ria's rook, let's see if this kitty is a lion or a pussy. Kaneko. Says the woman with no pussy to give. Angered by the comment, Shulin reeled her fist back, but she was gasping for air because Kaneko already had punched the woman in the gut. Kaneko. Awarid ah. But the strength that she had acquired from training with her original power, she was able to decimate the woman. Destroying many bones, shattering the pride of the woman, she was destroyed in one punch. Riser would be punishing her afterwards, she was going to receive the largest scolding of her entire life. The rook of Riser's peerage has been eliminated. To say that Grafia was impressed would be an understatement. She was shocked to the point where her mouth was slightly opened. Seeing the small girl showing her traits and sucking in the fear of going berserk was something that she wasn't expecting. The real reason may have been that she was actually fearing being left behind the others and being the one dragging the team down. Grafia didn't care about any reason. She was just proud that the woman actually grew up from that emo phase, however that was replaced with the disappointment that she had for Kiba. Kaneko. Cool, who's next? The moment that she said that was when she was punched on the back of the head. Being sent flying into the school wall, the woman that punched her was another rook that Riser had. Isabella. You may have beaten Shulin, but that was because she was underestimating you. Kaneko got up from the destruction and cleaned herself. Staring at the brown and red-haired woman with a skull-like mask that was seemingly half broke, the woman was able to punch Kaneko because she let her guard down. Kaneko. Alright, another woman to beat. The woman scoffed at this, rushing at Kaneko with a powerful kick. What she was met with was surprising. Kaneko was holding onto the woman's kick with one finger, she reeled her hand back, while slowly clenching each finger into the fist formation. Kaneko. Night. Punching the woman's leg and shattering the woman's bones. She was about to scream until she was quickly silenced by a kick to the head by Kaneko. Destroying the woman while watching her fall onto the ground and fade away. That was 2 down, a few more to go. She had already heard that Kiba had defeated 2 other beings. She had defeated 3, they only had 10 more to go. Kaneko. Whoever faced Kiba, I feel bad for you. Kaneko knew the threat that Kiba was, her senses were telling her that Kiba was deadly. The way that he acted, the way that Rias complained about his attitude, and the way that he would glance at each one of his teammates. She didn't want to even know what he did with his opponents. Time skip. Issei was currently setting up for a powerful blow onto the creature's body. This was an easier battle for Issei, even if he was losing some of his hit points. The beast was similar to Ludwig, dodge his attacks and land a blow. Issei. Here he comes. Issei rolled out of the way from a powerful punch from the beast, the screeching had died down to a normal level, the punch broke the ground creating a massive crater. Issei. Muta. Issei hit the right shoulder of the beast, shattering some more bones and catching the beast off guard. Landing a critical hit, thanks to his luck being insanely higher than the beast, his chances of landing a critical hit were around a 60%. Critical hit landed. Issei dropped his hammer and began to crack his knuckles. Issei. If I have a 60% chance of landing a critical hit in the beast then, I'll swing with my hands and test my RNG. Issei went all glass cannon, putting in all his energy into his hands and his shoulder, so his arms wouldn't pop out of his sockets, he began to land a series of deadly punches. Issei. Muta. Critical hit landed. 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 Around half of the hits were critical hits, these severely lowered the beast's health until the beast reached around 40% of its health. That was when Issei was sent flying back, breaking through the walls and hitting another, while his hand were being slightly burnt by something. Severe bleeding and burn have been afflicted. Severe bleeding. 3% of health will be depleted every minute. Burn. 2% of health will be depleted every minute. Issei was caught surprised by the news. These weren't the normal effects that would be applied. Normal bleed would only take away 1% of his health. This burn effect was also severely weakening him, taking away 5%. When combining the effects, his health will begin to severely deplete. Issei watched the beast and saw what was happening. The beast was finally moving into another phase. Lava began to pour out of the beast wherever the beast wanted to release the lava. Behind the beast would form a trail of lava. The burn effect was because of the lava. This wasn't normal lava either. This was severely amplified lava that would easily burn his skin to the point where even his enhanced bones would be nothing but ashes. Issei. I need to rely on either critical hits or my hammer. I only have around 20 minutes left. This should be just enough time to win. Name. Lawrence. Fame. The first vicar. Level. 70, +5. Race. Monster. Health points HP. 9,000, 9,000. Magic MP. 12,000, 12,000. Fatigue. 0. Strength STR. 180. Vitality VIT. 180. Agility AGL. 140. Intelligence INT. 160. Sense S. 160. Luck LCK. 80. Additional effects. Plus 35% damage reduction. Skills. Lava. Wherever he moves, lava will trail behind him. Minus 250 health for every second the lava makes contact. Lava breath. Lawrence can shoot out lava out of its mouth. Minus 250 health for every second the lava makes contact. Issei watched a beast shoot out lava, rolling out of the way, but being touched by the lava, causing him to feel immense pain on his back. Running towards his hammer, the beast began to slowly catch up to him. Thanks to Issei's immense speed, he was able to grab his hammer and jump onto the wall. Watching the beast shooting lava at him, Issei was able to use his hammer as a defense wall. Unfortunately, even his hammer was beginning to melt. Issei. You have to be kidding me. This is the second time that my weapon is beginning to weaken. First was with the gaping dragon, but now it's with this freak. Issei waited for the lava to stop, but it wasn't. Issei didn't have a choice but to throw his hammer towards the beast's mouth, hoping for the hammer to stop the beast momentarily. Issei. Wait for the perfect time. Once the lava began to slow down, that was when Issei threw his hammer, while tanking some of the lava, burning his skin and causing him to cringe at the pain. He threw his hammer at the beast's mouth. Luckily, the beast was stunned by the heavy blow which it didn't expect. Critical hit landed. Issei rushed at the beast and threw it into the air. Grabbing his heavy sword and slicing the beast all around the body, starting at the beast's arm. Issei. Shit. It wasn't a critical hit. The blow didn't do much, only critical hits would be able to do some damage. Issei tried again, slicing at the beast's arm and failing to land a critical hit. Issei stabbed the beast in the supposed heart that it had. This time something else happened. Critical hit landed. Issei. Maybe. Issei used his sword as a bat and swung, landing a powerful blow onto the beast's head. The beast wasn't dazed or anything. The beast was sent flying towards the ground while shooting out some more lava. Determination has been activated. The lava that the beast trails wherever it went was able to land onto him. Issei also may have forgotten the fact that he was losing 5% of his health for every minute. 2 minutes had passed and losing 10% of his health and being hit by lava. Issei. What if I land an ultimate attack? Like one of those attacks in those Japanese cartoons. Issei activated his retribution powers, taking his hands and coating it with divine magic. Issei began to concentrate all his magic into his hands. The beast was beginning to charge a huge amount of lava. Warning. Lawrence, the first vicar, is beginning to charge its ultimate move. Recommendation. Run, grab your shit and run. Issei charged his hands. Running away is only for the pussies. He wasn't about to run like he did with the kendo ladies. His hands were beginning to shine with multiple colors. This attack was something new that he hadn't tried. Issei. Lava versus divine. Issei finally was done charging whatever he had within him. All the magic was in his hands, running towards the monster, while the monster shot out a massive amount of lava. Huge amount of lava was beginning to approach him. Issei forced his hands forward and began to ram straight through the beast's lava. It was the only way for him to get close to the beast. Dodging wasn't an option because the beast could easily move its direction of where it was shooting its lava. His skin was beginning to burn even more than before, getting his teeth while approaching the beast. His hand was alright, thanks to the massive amount of coatings of divine magic, but his shoulders, his arms, and his legs were beginning to burn thanks to the lava bouncing off of his hands. He was beginning to get to a dangerously low level of hit points. Issei. Come on. Just a little more determination. Issei was beginning to get to lower than 20% of his health points. That was when he was able to punch the beast, sending a huge beam of energy which tore right through the beast's upper half and killing it. Critical hit landed. Lawrence, the first vicar, has been killed. Issei lost all his energy, putting in all his magic was basically him putting all his stamina into his attack. Issei. Man, that was one hell of an experience. It appeared that I came out luckily in this battles. New dungeon discovered completed. Name. Judgment. Description. Short dungeon which will tear your limits. Suggested that you prepare to the utmost for this. Reward. Better gear. Plus 50,000 EXP. Issei knew about that, but he was expecting for the experience to come from the beast's kill. Unfortunately, he wasn't that lucky this time. Divine Retribution. Divine God Slayer magic. Description. God slaying magic allows for the user to have the powers of the gods at a small degree and be able to kill the gods, the minor gods. Skills. All of Holy Manipulation skills. All of Divine Retribution skills. Divine God Slayer magic. The purest form of holiness, combined with the skills of the other weaker forms, this will be a formidable move. Holy Retribution form will be replaced with the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut increases all stats by 30%, including luck and health, 15% to damage reduction. Drawback of the Juggernaut. Depletes massive amounts of magic, regeneration is slower even after being out of the form, random bleed effects will be applied after getting out of the form, and other drawbacks. Cost is the same as before. Due to how long it was, Issei forgot his level and needed will make sure to check it after leveling up. Before Issei could even do anything, he was met with a bright shine that indicated that it was either a loot drop or the better gear reward. He was hoping for the both of them and not just one. He needed a better weapon, his sword wouldn't do good. Name. Greatsword. Type. Ultra Greatsword. Rarity. D. Effects. Plus 10% damage against beasts, monsters, and the undead. Plus 35 strength. Plus 50% critical damage. Plus 30% critical chance. Minus 5, agility. Additional abilities. When charging sword for every 2 seconds, damage doubles. Limit is 2 times. When guarding with this thick sword, damage reduction plus 25%. Issei. God damn it, when I said a sword, I didn't mean a massive sword. This thing is larger than me. Issei noticed another thing falling onto his head, moving his body to the right, he was hit on the head. This was the better gear that he was going to receive. Issei. I made sure to dodge that. Did the system just make a mockery out of me? Name. Golem armor. Type. Chest. Rarity. B. Effects. Plus 30 vitality. Plus 5 agility. Plus 15% damage reduction. Additional effects. Plus 5% damage reduction when wearing another golem attire. Issei was happy to have this armor, his damage reduction was about to be immense, play his vitality, and his power were going to be insane. This was the best decision of his life to take this quest, even if he didn't think he would have won. Level up X7. Name. Issei Hyoudou. Fame. The Hunter. Level. 72. Exp. 1980, 7200. Health points HP. 1500, 9600. Regenerates HP by 192 for every minute. Magic MP. 0 12,075. Restores MP by 161 for every minute. Fatigue. 10. Strength STR. 151, plus 40. Vitality Vit. 151, plus 41. Agility AGL. 151, plus 10. Intelligence Int. 151, plus 10. Sense S. 151, plus 18. Luck LCK. 150, plus 5. Ability points AP. 0. Additional effects from equipment. Plus 40% damage reduction. Plus 50% critical damage. Plus 30% critical chance. When charging sword for every 2 seconds, damage doubles. Limit is 2 times. When guarding with this thick sword, damage reduction plus 25%. Plus 10% damage against beasts, monsters, and the undead. This was quite an experience. After not seeing any improvement with his abilities, he was finally growing at the pace that he liked. The fast-paced level, he was finally at the point where he could confidently fight against the C-rank dungeons. Issei. This was quite a successful battle. Walking through the portal that formed in front of him, this portal led him to the same location as before. Walking through to be met with a dark night. School was about to begin soon, and he needed to be ready or else Rossweisse will snitch on him. Issei. Year days. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.